2023 to 2047. ESCO received a report on the State Development Plan 2023-2047 presented to it by United States Agency for International Development, USAID, state to state. This plan aims at empowering the state, that is our state, to attain a higher level in economic growth and development by the year 2047. It is founded on strategic plan pillars with the people as the focal agent for the state development. The thematic areas covered are economic development, infrastructural development, and social welfare, sustained environment, rural, housing and urban development, and governance plan that will be assessed from 2023 to 2047. ESCO noted the thematic areas covered by the report and the set goal, which is to ensure fiscal transparency and to improve the ease of doing business, tax transparency, and revenue generation in the state. And ESCO therefore approved that the report be adopted as a working document. ESCO further directed that the Office of the Head of Service, headed by Dr. Rita Mary Okoro, should review the report and make appropriate recommendations for consideration in the next Executive Council meeting. It is expected that the report of the draft development plan submitted to ESCO will be passed for implementation after a forward is made or is endorsed by His Excellency, the Governor of Ebonyi State. The next is swearing in of newly appointed commissioners. The following persons were sworn in as commissioners in the State Executive Council. They are Dr. Mrs. Obianiju Alo, who is designated as Commissioner for Aviation and Technology. Honorable Ogwefi Enegbachi Abba, designated as Commissioner, that will be in charge of local government projects directly attached to the Office of the Governor. Barrister Emeka Nwode will be Commissioner in charge of legal services, also attached to the Office of the Governor. And Mr. Nwampuma Uchenna Franklin is designated as Commissioner in charge of the new stadium that is in progress now, because he's to work with the Commissioner for Works to achieve the desired result in that project. So the Commissioner for Aviation and Technology shall, by virtue of that appointment, ensure smooth flight operations and staff management in the airport, while the other three commissioners shall work with their respective parent ministries of local government, chieftaincy matters in rural development in the first part, justice in the second part, and works and transport in the third part to achieve the goals of their offices. Next is a request for approval to auction a number of unserviceable vehicles. ESCO noted a report presented to it by the Secretary to the State Government and Coordinating Commissioner, Dr. Obara Kedetigwe, on auctioning of unserviceable vehicles, and approved that the Procurement Council should advertise and dispose of the unserviceable vehicles in line with the provisions of the law of Ebonyi State. It was further directed that all monies to be realized from the auction of the said vehicles should be paid to the state internally generated revenue account. The next is a report on State Advisory Council on prerogative of mercy. A report on the applications by certain members of the public requesting for a state pardon for certain convicts in the state was presented to ESCO by the chairman of the State Advisory Council on Prerogative of Mercy, Barrister Cletus Ofoke. Considerations were on grounds that peace had been made between the families of the victims and the convicts. Other considerations include ill health, where there was no case of premeditation to commit crime, and finally where there were possibilities of proper integration into the society upon manifest remorse by the convicts. These were the considerations before the Prerogative of Mercy Council. ESCO noted the requests made and the consideration sought in the total of 28 applications made in this regard. ESCO also noted the painstaking consultations made by the State Advisory Council on Prerogative of Mercy and the discretionary powers of the Governor of Ebonyi State under the Council of Mercy Law, Cap 8, Volume 1 Laws of Ebonyi State of Nigeria, 2009, and the imperative of Section 212 of the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria as amended. ESCO therefore approved the recommendations of the State Advisory Council on Prerogative of Mercy that a total of 20 out of 28 applicants be granted the state pardon by the Governor of Ebonyi State. Next is proposal for the payment of arrears of gratuity and pension. A proposal for the disbursement of the arrears of the outstanding pensions for the retired civil servants and the disbursement of 23.1% of the outstanding gratuity for the state retirees, amounting to 480 million naira and 1 billion naira respectively, was presented to ESCO by the head of service, Dr. Mrs. Rita Miracle. ESCO noted a proposal made which was in furtherance of the resolution of the previous Executive Council meeting held on the 25th day of April 2023 and therefore approved accordingly. Next is harmonized retirement age for teachers in Nigeria. A circular on the implementation of the harmonized retirement age and length of service in the teaching profession in Nigeria was read in the Executive Council by the Honorable Commissioner for Education, Dr. Z. Mwangele. ESCO noted the content of the circular and the fact that education is in the concurrent legislative list of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. ESCO therefore approved that the new retirement age for the teaching profession at 65 years of age and length of service of 40 years, whichsoever comes first, be implemented in the state. ESCO further directed that the Ministry of Education should work out the modalities and conditions for the implementation. Finally, it's a request for ESCO approval for the BESDA contractors to source funds and commence implementation of the post-BESDA projects. A request for ESCO approval for BESDA contractors who have received award letters to source for funds and commence immediate implementation of the post-BESDA projects was presented to ESCO via a memo from the Executive Chairman of UBEP, High Chief Hyacinth Ebonyi. ESCO noted the reason for the request by the UBEP Chairman and approved that the contractors should source funds and commence immediate implementation of the projects, pending the release of funds, which has been slated for June 2023 in the interest of the educational program of the Act of Skill Children. Gentlemen of the press, that in a nutshell is the outcome of the Executive Council meeting held on the 9th day of May 2023. Thank